This is the video for Skillbuilder number 1 on the slope and equation of a line. Should be a review from Algebra 1. Looking at example 1, we're given a graph and we are asked to calculate the slope of each line from that given graph. Okay, so here we have line Q and then we have line P right here. And in order to calculate the slopes, we want to focus on 2 points on each line. So if we're looking at line P right here, we've got this point right here that's marked, and then we've got this point right here that's marked. So we're looking at, when we're doing slope, we're doing a rise over run. Okay, so rise is up and down, run is left and right. So for P, if we go from one point to another, we're going up 1, 2. So we're going to have 2 over to the right, so positive 1, 2, 3. So the slope of line P is just 2 over 3 or 2/3. And then looking at Q, notice this is going in a different direction. So here we're going to be going between this point and this point here. So if we start on the furthest left point, we go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because we went down, we went negative, so we've got a -5 over, and then our run, so we went down 5 or right here, to the right, positive 1, 2, 3. So it's a -5 over 3. So now you have problems to do on your own, and then we're going to move down to example 2. For this example, you are solving the equation for y. So basically getting y by itself on one side of the equation. I'm going to leave y on the left-hand side and kind of move everything else away from it. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this 2x right here. So I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. Okay, it's going to cancel here, and then we're going to be left with a -3y on the left side equals, we've got a -2x, and then we have that +9, so plus 9 there. Now the y still has a -3 with it, it's being multiplied, so in order to get rid of that we need to divide. So we're going to divide everything by -3. And then you're just simplifying those fractions. So of course on the left side it should cancel, that's what we wanted, and we're left with a y there. And then here we've got a -2 over a -3, that becomes a +2 over 3, and we've got the x out in front of it. And then we have a +9 over a -3, which is just a -3. Okay, so that's solving the equation for y. And from here, now we've got that into that y equals mx plus b form, okay, where the slope in that equation is m and the y-intercept is b. So once you get it into that form, it's easy to figure out what the slope and the y-intercept are. So looking back at this equation, the slope is usually that number that's attached to the x. So your slope here is just 2/3. And then your y-intercept, don't forget this is an actual point on the graph, just like we saw those points in example 1. Okay, so the y-intercept is a -3, so that's technically 0, -3. Okay, again, a couple more problems on your own. You've got number 3 and number 4 there. And we are going to go to the other side for examples 3 and 4. Okay. So for example 3, we're focusing on parallel and perpendicular lines and what that means, particularly for our slopes. Okay, so when we look at number 3, the first question, when lines are parallel, what is true about their slopes? If they are parallel, they are kind of running alongside each other, they do not intersect, their slopes should be the same. Second question, what does it mean for lines to be perpendicular? If lines are perpendicular, then they are intersecting. They intersect at a 90-degree angle. When lines are perpendicular, what is true about their slopes? That means that their slopes are opposite reciprocals. Okay, so it changes sign and it flips as a fraction. Fourth question, what is the slope of a line parallel to y equals 2x minus 3? We had to look back at example 2 to remember which number in this equation here is our slope. So our slope here is 2. We're looking at parallel, and we know that the slope should be the same if we're looking at parallel lines. So the slope is going to be 2. Okay. The last question, different than the one before it. What is the slope of a line perpendicular to this equation right here? 5 is the slope of this equation, but we want perpendicular. So we're looking at a positive 5. We want an opposite reciprocal. Opposite would be negative. Reciprocal will be flipping. If this is 5 over 1, we're flipping it. We should get 1 over 5, so negative 1/5. Okay, a couple problems to practice. And then we've got our last example down here, example 4. Given the points R at negative 33 and 19 and S at negative 27 and negative 13, find the equation of RS. So we're hoping in the end to get to this form of y equals mx plus b. We need to use these points to figure out our m and our b. This might take a little bit of work. Okay, first thing that we want to do is find the slope. We want to find our m right here. So to find the slope, we're looking at the differences in your y's over the differences in your x's. So y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. Okay, and then you can even label these up here. So I called this one x1 and y1, x2 and y2, so that it's easier for me to plug in. So when I plug in over here, I'm going to have m is equal to y1 is 19 minus y2 is a negative 13 over x1 is negative 33 minus x2, which is a negative 27. Okay, simplifying that out, plugging the top into your calculator, plugging the bottom into your calculator, you should get m is equal to 32 over a negative 6, which simplifies to negative 16 over 3. This is important. Okay, we want to remember that number because we're going to need to use it. Now we're going to focus on this form right here. We're going to start plugging in. We've got 2 points here that we could plug in for y and x. So we're going to do that. And we also know what m is. So if we take m and we plug it in, that just leaves b as the one lone variable that we need to find, which we know how to do. So you can choose either one of these points. In doing this, I'm going to choose the first set of points right here, this negative 33 and 19, and just plug them into this y equals mx plus b. So I've got 19 equals, we know our m, which is negative 16 over 3, times our x value, which is a negative 33. And then we don't know b, so we're going to leave b alone. That's what we're going to be solving for right now. When we go through and we kind of multiply this out, simplify this out, on the left side we're still going to have 19, and we need to focus on this fraction times this number right here. So I believe when you multiply that out, if you were to plug it into your calculator or simplify out the fraction, you should get 176. And then you've got the plus b. Okay, last step, move the 176 over. Subtract 176 from both sides. Okay, and you are left with b equals negative 157. Okay, so we've got our b, we've got our m, now we can go ahead and put it in this form. Y equals m is negative 16 over 3 times x minus 157. Okay, last couple of problems on your own just as practice, and you are through.